Hello, my awesome friends. I had a request for this one from one of my many dedicated fans. Okay? Due to the length of this one, and to set the mood, I have decided to introduce each character to the story, so here it goes. The Whispers of La Llorona. Ana was a woman of strength and determination. Born and raised in a small town on the outskirts of Mexico City, she was brought up on the legends and folklore of her ancestors. Now a single mother in her early 30s, she was fiercely protective of her young daughter, Lil Oz, and was determined to give her a safe and loving home. Her dark hair, often tied up in a loose bun, framed her sharp features, and her deep-set chocolate brown eyes were filled with a mixture of warmth and resilience. Ana worked as a nurse at the local clinic, a job that she loved for its ability to help others. She was well respected in her community, known for her kindness and her ability to stay calm in a crisis. Little Oz, just 6 years old, was a bundle of energy and curiosity. With her mother's dark hair and bright, inquisitive eyes, she was a constant source of joy for Ana. Lil Oz was in the first grade and loved to learn new things, especially the stories her mother would tell her about their ancestors and the folklore of their people. One of the stories that had always fascinated Lil Oz was the tale of La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. The story was a cautionary tale, meant to keep children from wandering off in the dark. But to Lil Oz, it was a story of mystery and intrigue, a story that she couldn't get enough of. Carlos was Ana's husband, the stalwart protector of the family. He was a big man with a heart just as large. He ran the local hardware store and was always there to support Ana and Lil Oz. His life was a testament to hard work and the love of family. The tale of La Llorona had been passed down through their family for generations. It was a story that had always been close to Ana's heart, a story that she had always feared. The Weeping Woman was said to be a mother who had lost her children and now wept and wailed, her cries echoing in the night. It was said that she would snatch away children who strayed too far from their homes, mistaking them for her own. The story had always scared Ana, but she had never believed it to be true until one fateful day when she heard the cries of La Llorona herself. As she sat in her living room, the wind howling outside, she heard it. A wail, a cry of such profound sorrow, giving her the chills like no other. It was a cry that she would never forget, a cry that would change their lives forever. The cry of La Llorona. From that day on, Ana's life was consumed by the legend of the Weeping Woman. She could feel her presence, could hear her cries in the wind. She knew that she had to protect Lil Oz to keep her safe from the Weeping Woman. And so, with a heavy heart, Ana set out to confront her fears, to protect her daughter, and to face the legend that had haunted her family for generations. Now on to the actual story of the legend of La Llorona. The sun was setting over the small village of Tlaxco, painting the sky with hues of red and orange. In a nice but humble home, Ana was helping her daughter, Lil Oz, with her homework, while her husband Carlos was preparing dinner. "Mom, can you tell me again about La Llorona?" Lil Oz asked, her dark eyes sparkling with curiosity. Ana's was both in shock and disbelief. She exchanged a look with Carlos. The legend of La Llorona haunted her dreams, a chilling tale from her childhood that she hoped Lil Oz would never have to fear. "Sweetheart, it's just a story," Ana said, trying to hide her discomfort. "It's an old tale from our culture, which many of us believe to this day. But Abuela said it's real," Lil Oz insisted. She said, "La Llorona is a woman who drowned her children in a river, and now she weeps for them, looking for other children to take their place." Ana's got the chills. The chilling memories of her childhood, of the fateful day she almost drowned, came rushing back. She remembered her mother's words, "La Llorona will come for you if you go near the water again." And she did in her nightmares. "Lil Oz, there's no need to worry," Carlos said, trying to lighten the mood. "We're in America now," Anna forced a smile. "That's right. There's no La Llorona here." But deep down, she knew the terror of La Llorona wasn't limited to the borders of Mexico. The legend had followed her here, in the whispers of the Mexican community in their new city, in the stories they told, and now, with Lil Oz's growing fascination for water, the old fear began to resurface. Later that night, as she tucked Lil Oz into bed, Anna kissed her forehead, whispering, "Sweet dreams, my angel." Lil Oz looked up at her, her innocent eyes full of trust. "Will you protect me from La Llorona, Mommy?" Anna held her close. "Always, my love, always." But as she left Lil Oz's room, Anna couldn't shake off the chill that she was feeling. Little did she know, her words were about to be put to the test. The legend of La Llorona was about to become all too real for them. And it was only just beginning. Anna's days were filled with the routine of work, family, and home. But her nights were haunted by the specter of La Llorona. She dreamed of a woman in white, her face obscured by a veil of tears. A woman standing by a river, her cries echoing through the night. One day, while Anna was at the local community center, she overheard a group of women talking in whispers amongst themselves. La Llorona was seen by the river last night, one woman claimed, her face pale, as shivered as she'd never felt before. "The river, just like in her dreams. I thought it was just a legend," another woman said skeptically. "The legend is real," the first woman insisted. "I saw her with my own eyes, a woman in white weeping by the river." Anna felt a knot forming in her stomach. Could it be possible? Could La Llorona be here in America? She shook her head, trying to dispel the thoughts. But the fear was already creeping in, casting a shadow over her heart. That evening, as Anna prepared Lil Oz for bed, she couldn't help but glance out the window at the nearby river. It looked so serene, so peaceful. But she knew the tranquility was deceptive. The water held a terrifying secret. A secret she hoped Lil Oz would never have to encounter. "Mommy, why do you look so worried?" Lil Oz asked, breaking Anna's trance. Anna forced a smile. "It's nothing, sweetheart. Just tired." But Lil Oz wasn't convinced. She looked at her mother with worry in her eyes. "Is it about La Llorona?" This completely caught Anna off guard. It actually startled her. "Why would you say that?" "Because I heard you talking to Daddy about her," Lil Oz admitted. "Are you scared of her, Mommy?" Anna held Lil Oz close, whispering words of comfort. "No, my love, I'm not scared, and neither should you be." But as she spoke, Anna couldn't help but feel the weight of her own words. She was scared. Scared of the weeping woman who haunted her dreams and made her fear the rushing waters of the river. Scared for Lil Oz, who was too young to understand the terror that lurked in the shadows of their heritage. She was about to confront her past, her fears, and the legend that had followed her from Mexico to America. She had to protect Lil Oz, no matter what. And to do that, she had to face the weeping woman who haunted her dreams, La Llorona. Anna couldn't sleep. The echoes of the tale of La Llorona were too loud, too insistent. She slipped out of bed, leaving Carlos in a peaceful slumber, and made her way to the living room. Her mother's old book of Mexican folklore lay on the shelf, gathering dust. With a heavy sigh, she picked it up, opening it to the story of La Llorona. The tale was as chilling as she remembered. A woman, heartbroken and desperate, drowning her own children in a river out of grief and sorrow, only to wander the earth forevermore, weeping for her lost children. Her name was Xochipellomoyactli, the Aztec goddess turned into La Llorona, the weeping woman. Anna's mind wandered back to the incident from her childhood, the day she almost drowned in the river. Her family had saved her, but the near-death experience had left her traumatized, instilling in her a deep-seated fear of water. Her mother had always said that it was La Llorona who had tried to take her, and Anna believed her. After the incident, her mother was stricken with infertility. She could never bear another child, leaving her heartbroken and desolate. Anna couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. She couldn't shake off the feeling that she should have drowned that day, that she was the cause of her mother's sorrow. As she read on, Anna realized that the legend of La Llorona was not just a tale of horror. It was a story of sorrow, grief, and motherhood. The woman who drowned her children was not a monster, but a mother in unimaginable pain. Just as Anna was about to close the book, something caught her eye. A passage about La Llorona's curse. According to the book, La Llorona was not just a weeping spirit. She was a curse upon mothers, a punishment for neglecting their duties, a curse that manifested in different forms, from infertility to death. Anna got a cold chill. Could it be possible? Could her mother's infertility be connected to La Llorona's curse? Suddenly, the weight of her mother's sorrow, the terror of the incident at the river, and the fear for Lil Oz's safety all came crashing down on Anna. She realized that to protect her daughter, she had to confront her past, her fears, and a legend that was more real than she ever imagined. With newfound determination, Anna closed the book. She wasn't just a mother. She was a woman ready to face the weeping woman herself, to break the curse that had haunted her family for generations, and to protect her daughter from the terror of La Llorona. The next morning, Anna found herself standing by the river, the very place she had been trying to avoid. The water looked calm, but to Anna, it seemed to be hiding a sinister secret. She could almost hear the faint cries of La Llorona echoing in the wind. She looked at Lil Oz, playing by the water's edge with an uneasy feeling. Her daughter's fascination with water was growing day by day, and so was Anna's fear. "Mommy, look," Lil Oz called out, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I found a pretty shell." Anna forced a smile, but her eyes were fixed on the water. She could see a figure moving beneath the surface, a woman in white. La Llorona. Anna quickly grabbed Lil Oz and moved away from the water. Lil Oz looked at her, puzzled, but Anna just hugged her tighter. "Mommy, you're scaring me," Lil Oz whimpered. I'm sorry, sweetheart," Anna stammered, trying to regain her composure. "It's just the water. It's not safe." That night, Anna couldn't sleep. The image of the woman in the water haunted her. She had seen La Llorona, and she was sure the weeping woman had seen her too. Anna spent the next few days researching about La Llorona's origins, looking for a way to keep Lil Oz safe. She discovered that the story of La Llorona and her mother's curse were intertwined with grief and sacrifice, a chilling realization that made her shudder. One day, she found a folklore expert who agreed to meet her. He told her that La Llorona was a manifestation of grief, a symbol of a mother's sorrow for her lost children. He suggested that the curse could be broken by confronting the grief and making peace with it. But Anna knew it wasn't that simple. She had tried offerings of food and prayer before, but they had only resulted in La Llorona appearing in her home, frightening Lil Oz. She realized that breaking the curse required a deeper connection, a confrontation with La Llorona herself. And so, armed with courage and a mother's love, Anna decided to face her fears. She would take Lil Oz to the river, the same river where she had nearly drowned as a child, and confront La Llorona. As they walked towards the river, Anna held Lil Oz's hand tightly. Her heart was racing. She was more nervous and fearful than ever before. She was about to come face to face with the weeping woman, but she was ready. She would protect Lil Oz, no matter what. As they stood by the river, Anna saw a figure emerging from the water. It was La Llorona, her white dress glowing in the moonlight, her cries echoing through the night. Anna could feel her heart racing, but she stood her ground, her eyes fixed on the weeping woman. "Stay back," Anna warned, her voice trembling. "You can't have her," La Llorona looked at her, her eyes filled with sorrow. I just want my children, she cried. I'm not your child, and neither is Lil Oz, Anna retorted. You won't take her from me. As Anna spoke, she felt a surge of courage. She was not just confronting La Llorona, she was confronting her own fears, her own grief. And in that moment, she found the strength to protect her daughter, to break the curse once and for all. With a final sorrowful cry, La Llorona disappeared into the water, leaving Anna and Lil Oz alone by the river. As they walked away, Anna knew they were safe. She had faced the weeping woman and won. She had broken the curse. Or did she? You should never give up that easily. Now back to the story. As they reached home, Anna looked at Lil Oz, sleeping peacefully in her arms. She felt that her daughter was safe, that La Llorona would no longer haunt their lives. That night, as Anna lay in bed, she realized that she had not just defeated a legend. She had overcome her own fears, her own past. She had found the strength in her love for Lil Oz, in her will to protect her daughter. As she closed her eyes, Anna still feeling that she was finally free. Free from the curse of La Llorona, free from the fear of water, free from the shadows of her past. And as she drifted off to sleep, once again she could hear the faint cries of La Llorona echoing in the distance, a chilling reminder of the battle she had won, of the love that had saved them. Anna had always been a firm believer in the power of new beginnings. She believed in the promise of the United States, the land of opportunity, where she and Carlos could provide their daughter a life far removed from the folklore and fears of their Mexican heritage. She soon realized that some things, like the haunting legend of La Llorona, clung to their roots, refusing to be left behind. Anna had found solace in the thriving Mexican community in their new neighborhood. The familiar chatter of Spanish, the smell of freshly made tortillas, and the vibrant festivals reminded her of her homeland, providing comfort amidst the foreignness of America. But with this familiarity came in whispers the tales of La Llorona, stirring up the fears she had hoped to leave behind. Lil Oz, mi amor, don't go near the water. Anna found herself repeating the special words her mother used to tell her as she watched her little girl playing near a water fountain in the park. Lil Oz's fascination with water terrified Anna. She could not shake off the image of La Llorona lurking beneath the surface, waiting to claim her child. One day, while at the community pool with Lil Oz, Anna's fears manifested into reality. Lil Oz was in the shallow end, splashing around joyfully under Anna's watchful eyes. Suddenly, Anna noticed a figure at the far end of the pool. The figure was dressed in white, her long hair flowing in the water around her, her face obscured. Lil Oz, come here, Anna called out, her voice trembling. Lil Oz obediently swam towards her, looking puzzled at her mother's distressed tone. The figure seemed to be weeping, the soft, mournful cries chilling Anna to the bone. It felt like the water around her was growing colder, the joyful laughter and chatter around the pool fading into a distant echo. La Llorona, Anna whispered, her heart racing with intensity. She scooped up Lil Oz and rushed out of the pool area, ignoring the confused looks from the other parents. Back home, Anna struggled to make sense of what she had seen. Was it really La Llorona? Or was it just a figment of her overactive imagination, fueled by her childhood fears? She tried to dismiss the incident, but the image of the figure weeping in the pool haunted her. She realized she couldn't escape the legend. La Llorona had followed them to America, and Anna knew she needed to understand her past, her fears, and the legend itself to protect her daughter. Her journey into unraveling the mystery of La Llorona had just begun, opening a path laden with suspense and uncertainty. As the days passed, Anna's fear continued to grow. She couldn't help but see the shadow of La Llorona in every ripple of water, hear her mournful cry in every gust of wind. The drowned woman of her childhood stories, once a distant memory, had become a persistent specter, seemingly ever present. Anna knew she had to confront her fears, and the first step was to learn more about and understand the legend. She began to dig deeper into the origins of La Llorona, her quest taking her to the local library, community elders, and finally, an expert in Mexican folklore at a nearby university. As Anna delved into the ancient Aztec myths, she was struck by the parallels between her own life and the tragic story of Xochipetl, the mother goddess who drowned her children. The goddess's sorrow, her regrets, echoed Anna's own feelings of guilt and fear about her mother's infertility curse. One day, while Lil Oz was at school, Anna visited the local church. She sat in the dimly lit interior, her eyes drawn to the statue of the Virgin Mary cradling her child. In the silence, she murmured a prayer, asking for protection for Lil Oz and herself from La Llorona. On her way out, she bumped into an old woman who introduced herself as Doña Lucia. Seeing Anna's distress, Doña Lucia invited her to her home for a cup of coffee. Over steaming mugs of Café de Olla, Anna shared her fears about La Llorona. Doña Lucia listened intently, her old eyes filled with sympathy and clarity. La Llorona is not a monster, Mia, she said softly. She is a symbol of grief, a warning about the consequences of neglecting our duties as mothers, yes, but also a reminder of the love we must have for our children. Anna pondered over Doña Lucia's words. They offered a new perspective on the legend, one that was more about the complexities of motherhood than a vengeful spirit. But could just being able to understand La Llorona's grief help her protect Lil Oz from the curse? As Anna tried to reconcile with her past and the legend of La Llorona, she noticed Lil Oz's increasing fascination with water. One day, she found Lil Oz drawing a figure of a woman surrounded by water. Could it be a coincidence? Or was La Llorona reaching out to Lil Oz too? Torn between her growing knowledge of La Llorona and her fear for Lil Oz's safety, Anna found herself standing at the edge of a precipice. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but she knew she had to move forward. For herself, for Lil Oz, she had to face the darkness of her past and the shadows of La Llorona. With the haunting image of Lil Oz's drawing etched into her mind, Anna knew she had to act. Her investigations into La Llorona's origins had led her to a greater insight and realization. But now there was a more pressing matter at hand, the safety of her daughter. Anna decided to revisit the folklore expert at the university and share her concerns about Lil Oz's interest in La Llorona. The expert, Professor Rio, was a kind man, deeply interested in the cultural beliefs and folklore of Mexican immigrants. He listened attentively as Anna explained her situation. He did have something odd to say that has never been discussed before outside of their labs for testing, something that most don't know and may disagree with. It's been said by some that when people get rabies and have an extreme fear of water all of a sudden, then ultimately go blind, then crazy it's because where regular people are attracted to the water from what they don't physically see, well, the rabid people see her clearly, in turn, literally scaring them out of their minds once they've gone that far. There's no cure, but who knows? That's just a theory some of our colleagues brought up, however. That's another story in its own. Anyways, don't repeat this because I'd probably laughed out of the university. Back to the matter at hand. Perhaps these incidents are not a sign of danger, but a call for reasoning and deep awareness, Professor Rios suggested, his eyes reflecting his deep thought. The connection between your family and La Llorona seems to be more than just fear. It's a bond of grief, loss, and sacrifice. Anna felt shivers throughout her body. The professor's words mirrored those of Doña Lucia. Could it be that the curse wasn't meant to harm, but to heal? Professor Rios suggested that Anna try to break the curse using traditional Mexican rituals. Offerings of food, prayer, and a deep respect for the spirits might help you find a resolution, he advised. Anna felt a glimmer of hope. She decided to follow the professor's advice. She prepared a small altar at home, adorned with marigold flowers, candles, and a picture of her mother. She offered traditional Mexican food and recited prayers she remembered from her childhood. Despite her earnest efforts, the rituals did not have the effect she had hoped for. One night, after the rituals, she woke up to the sound of soft weeping. She followed the sound to Lil Oz's room and was horrified to find La Llorona standing by Lil Oz's bed, her white dress glowing in the moonlight. Anna rushed in and swept Lil Oz into her arms. La Llorona seemed to fade away, leaving behind a chilling cold and the echo of her mournful cry. Anna knew then that traditional rituals would not be enough to break the curse. She needed to delve deeper, confront her own fears and grief, and find a way to protect Lil Oz. And to do that, she needed to return to where it all started, the river where she almost drowned as a child. She made a decision. She would face La Llorona not as a frightened child, but as a mother determined to protect her child. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Anna knew she must face it. For Lil Oz, for her mother, for herself, she would confront her past and the specter of La Llorona. Anna's decision to return to her childhood home in Mexico was not an easy one. It meant confronting old memories, fears, and the river that almost claimed her life. But the resolve in her heart was stronger than her fears. She was ready to protect Lil Oz at all costs. They arrived in the small village near Tlaxco on a bright, sunny day. The scent of the air, the familiar sights, the sounds of the bustling market, it was as if Anna had stepped back in time. But underneath the nostalgia, there was a sense of foreboding, a reminder of the task that lay ahead. Anna decided to visit her childhood home first, a small, humble abode nestled at the edge of the village. It stood just as she remembered it, the walls now faded with time, the once vibrant garden now overgrown with weeds. Stepping inside, Anna felt a wave of memories rush over her. The house was filled with echoes of laughter, of her mother's stories, of a happier, simpler time. But the fear of La Llorona still loomed, making the once comforting home seem eerie and unsettling. Anna took Lil Oz to her old room, where her mother would tuck her in and whisper spooky tales of La Llorona. She held Lil Oz close, feeling a mixture of sadness and determination. She promised her daughter that everything would be all right, her voice barely concealing the tremble in her voice. The next day, Anna decided to face her greatest fear, the river. As she stood at the riverbank, the water's gentle flow seemed almost inviting. But Anna knew better. This was where she had almost drowned, where the story of La Llorona had turned from a mere tale into a haunting reality. With Lil Oz holding her hand, Anna took a step into the river. The water was colder than she remembered, the current stronger, but Anna stood her ground, clutching Lil Oz's hand tighter. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the water, a woman draped in a white dress, her long hair flowing around her. La Llorona. Her weeping filled the air, a sorrowful melody that seemed to echo Anna's deepest fears. But instead of succumbing to fear, Anna felt a surge of courage. She stood tall, her eyes meeting La Llorona's. She would not let this spirit take her daughter. She would fight, no matter what. The confrontation with La Llorona had begun, and Anna knew she had to find a way to protect Lil Oz and break the curse once and for all. The river's dark waters held many secrets, and it was time for Anna to uncover them. In the heart of the river, under the pale moonlight, the figure of La Llorona appeared more sorrowful than terrifying. Her cries echoed through the silent night, a haunting lullaby of loss and regret. But beneath the grief, Anna felt a strange connection, a shared understanding of sacrifice, of her mother's love. Anna stepped further into the river, the cold water swirling around her, She held Lil Oz close, whispering words of comfort. She could feel the fear radiating from her daughter, but she couldn't allow it to control them. As they ventured deeper, the river seemed to change. The water no longer felt cold and threatening, but warm and inviting. Anna could see figures in the water, not frightening apparitions, but souls lost and wandering. It was as if they were crossing into the realm of the dead, the river of souls. In the midst of these souls, La Llorona stood. Her figure loomed larger, her cries louder. But there was something else, something Anna hadn't noticed before. A profound sadness in her eyes. As they approached La Llorona, Anna felt a presence behind her. Turning around, she saw another figure emerging from the water. A familiar figure, filled with warmth and love, her mother. She looked just as Anna remembered, her eyes filled with kindness and sorrow. Tears streamed down Anna's face as she embraced her mother. It was a fleeting moment, a bittersweet reunion in the midst of fear and uncertainty. Her mother's spirit gestured towards La Llorona, her eyes filled with empathy and emotion. Anna realized what she needed to do. She needed to empathize with La Llorona, to understand her grief, to show her that she was not alone. As Anna faced La Llorona once again, she felt a strange calm. Speaking in a way that could be clearly understood, acknowledging their shared pain, their shared love for their children. She promised La Llorona that she would protect Lil Oz, that she would not let her suffer the same fate as her lost children. La Llorona's cries softened, her figure seemed less terrifying. For a moment, she looked like any other mother, lost in her grief and longing for her children. The confrontation concluded not with a battle, but with a sense of reasoning and interpretation. Anna, Lil Oz, and the spirit of her mother returned safely, leaving the river of souls behind. The curse was broken, not with rituals or offerings, but with love. As the sun began to rise, Anna knew they had survived the darkest night, but there were still secrets to be uncovered, truths to be revealed. Their journey was far from over, but for now, they were safe. Safe from the curse, safe from La Llorona, and that was enough. Having faced La Llorona and returned safe, Anna felt a weight lifted off her shoulders. The curse felt less intimidating, the haunting figure of La Llorona less terrifying. But the journey was far from over. Anna knew she had to delve deeper into the mystery of her past and the connection between her mother and La Llorona. One night, a few days after their encounter with La Llorona, Anna had a dream. She saw her mother standing at the edge of the river, beckoning her to follow. Anna found herself walking into the river, the water parting to reveal a path leading to an underwater lair. When she woke up, Anna knew what she had to do. She had to return to the river and find the underwater lair from her dream. She believed it held the answers to her questions, the key to fully figuring out and breaking free from La Llorona's influence. With Lil Oz by her side, Anna returned to the river. She dove into the river, the memory of her dream guiding her. As she swam deeper, she saw an opening in the riverbed, just as she had dreamed. Inside the underwater lair, Anna felt a sudden warmth. She saw her mother's spirit again, standing protectively near Lil Oz. The lair was filled with a soft, ethereal light, illuminating the figures of children, playing and laughing. Among them, she recognized the children from the La Llorona legend. Anna realized the underwater lair was a sanctuary, a place where La Llorona's lost children found peace. It was not a place of fear, but of healing and forgiveness. It was here that Anna truly understood the depth of La Llorona's grief, her endless search for her lost children. In that moment, Anna felt a profound connection to La Llorona. They were both mothers, willing to do anything to protect their children. The realization filled her with a newfound strength. She knew she had to bring this peace to La Llorona, to help her find closure. As they left the underwater lair, Anna felt a strange sense of calm. She knew what she needed to do. She had to confront La Llorona one last time, not as an enemy, but as a fellow mother. She had to help La Llorona find peace, to finally break free from the curse. Their journey was nearing its end. With newfound resolve, Anna and Lil Oz returned home, ready to face the challenges that awaited them. Together, they would confront La Llorona, end the curse, and find their way back to a life free of fear. Armed with the knowledge and experiences from their journey, Anna was ready to face La Llorona one last time. She felt a deep empathy for the weeping woman, a connection that transcended fear and legend. Anna knew La Llorona was not a specter to be feared, but a mourning mother lost in her eternal grief. Anna decided to confront La Llorona at the river, where their connection was strongest. She prepared herself, not for a battle, but for a heartfelt conversation. She took Lil Oz by the hand, her grip firm yet comforting. As they approached the river, the air grew cooler, the night darker. La Llorona emerged from the water, her white dress glowing under the moonlight, her sorrowful cries echoing through the night. But Anna was not afraid. She stepped forward, her heart racing heavily, her resolve unshaken. Anna spoke to La Llorona, her voice calm and soothing. In her own way of speaking, she expressed her view of La Llorona's grief and her shared love as a mother. She told her about the underwater lair, about the sanctuary for her lost children. La Llorona's cries softened, her figure seemed less haunting. For a moment she looked at Anna, a mutual reasoning and emotion passing between them. Anna offered her hand to La Llorona, a gesture of solidarity and support. To Anna's surprise, La Llorona took her hand. It was cold and spectral, yet there was a warmth in her grip. She looked at Anna, her eyes reflecting gratitude and relief. It was as she finally found someone who truly understood her grief, her longing. Anna guided La Llorona towards the underwater lair. As they stepped into the sanctuary, La Llorona's figure started to fade. She looked at her children, their laughter and joy filling the space. She looked back at Anna, a silent thank you in her eyes, and then she disappeared, her figure completely merging with the ethereal light of the lair. Anna felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had done it. She had helped La Llorona find peace, find her children. The curse was finally broken. As they left the underwater lair, Anna and Lil Oz embraced, their hearts filled with joy and relief. They had survived the curse, faced their fears, and found a unique interpretation of the legend of La Llorona. Back in their village, Anna shared her story. The villagers listened in awe, their fear of La Llorona replaced with realization and empathy. And thus, the legend of La Llorona evolved from a tale of fear to a story of a mother's love, loss, and redemption. Anna and Lil Oz's life returned to normal, free from the haunting figure of La Llorona. Free from the haunting figure of La Llorona, but they would never forget their journey. Their encounters with the weeping woman. They knew they had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Their bond as mother and daughter deepened. The final chapter of their journey with La Llorona had ended, but their story, their shared experiences would live on. And in their hearts, they knew they had not only broken a curse but also healed a wound of a grieving mother, lost in her eternal sorrow. With the curse finally lifted, Anna and Lil Oz returned to their everyday lives. But they were changed. Their experiences with La Llorona had shaped them in ways they never imagined. The fear was gone, replaced with a profound knowledge of the legend that had haunted them. Their home was once again filled with laughter and warmth, but with a newfound appreciation for the power of stories and the bonds of family. Anna found herself telling Lil Oz stories about her grandmother, about her own childhood, about their shared journey with La Llorona. The stories were not warnings or just as spooky tales, but a testament to their strength and resilience. Anna also continued to share her experiences with the community. She found a new purpose in telling her story, in transforming the narrative around La Llorona. The villagers, once fearful of the weeping woman, now listened with much understanding and empathy. The legend of La Llorona had evolved from a tale of terror to a story of love, loss, and redemption. But Anna knew their journey wasn't entirely over. The river was still there, a constant reminder of the past, of the underwater layer of La Llorona. But it no longer frightened her. Instead, it served as a symbol of their journey, of the challenges they overcame and the bond they forged. Anna often found herself standing by the river, watching the water flow, remembering. She felt a connection to the river, to the souls it sheltered. She often left flowers by the riverbank, a silent tribute to La Llorona and her lost children. As for Lil Oz, she grew up with a unique but knowledgeable view of the legend of La Llorona. It was not just a story to her, but a part of her history, her legacy. She inherited her mother's strength and resolve, her empathy for the weeping woman, and she knew, when the time came, she would carry on her mother's work, sharing their story, keeping the legend of La Llorona alive. In the end, Anna and Lil Oz's journey with La Llorona became a story of hope. It was a narrative of overcoming fear, learning to understand grief, and of the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. They had faced the darkness, confronted their fears, and emerged stronger. They were no longer the victims of a curse, but the heroes of their own story. And so, they embraced their new beginnings, forever bound by their shared experiences, their shared journey with La Llorona, and they knew, in their hearts, they had not only survived, but thrived. They had turned a curse into a blessing, a legend into a legacy. They carried their experiences with pride, ready to face the future, together. Well, unfortunately, that's about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this story. If any of you have a request for a story, just let me know. However, just remember, mine will have my own spin to it, so sometimes some segments of the story may be twisted a little, or maybe just something added to it. Thank you all for watching. If on TikTok, please repost, like and follow. If on another network like Rumble or YouTube, then please like, subscribe and or leave a comment. Until next time, my friends, it's been fun. Stay tuned, as we'll have more great stories to come in the near future.
Welcome back, my friends. I had a request for this one. If you like these stories, please share and repost, as it will help a lot. Anyways, today's story is called The Wolver, a Scottish werewolf, the unveiling. In the remote, wind-whipped highlands of Scotland, where the fog rolls in like an ocean tide, and the land is gloriously painted in hues of emerald and granite, there exists a legend as ancient as the stones themselves. This is the legend of the Wolver, a creature wrapped in superstition and folklore, a chilling amalgamation of man and wolf, haunting the nightmares of those who dare tread its territory. Our tale unfolds with a young shepherd boy named Angus MacLeod, a lad of only 17 summers. With his shepherd's crook and faithful collie, he guards his flock from the dangers of the wild, his livelihood dependent on the woolly creatures. It was the eve of Beltane's Eve, a date marked with celebration and ritual, but for Angus, it was to be a night of terror. In the year of 1875, a tempest had seized the highlands, turning the sky into an inky abyss, punctuated by blazes of lightning. Rain lashed against Angus's oilskin cloak as he patrolled the slopes of Beinn Doraenach, a towering sentinel against the stormy backdrop. Suddenly his collie began to whimper, its ears flattened against its skull, as a low growl echoed through the howling wind. Angus squinted into the darkness, and his blood ran cold when he saw it. A creature emerged, its silhouette a monstrous distortion of man and beast. It prowled on the cusp of the shadow and light, its eyes glowing like dying embers in the heart of the storm. Its body appeared grotesquely human yet bestial, and from its jowls it released a howl that seemed to claw at Angus's very soul. Fear seized Angus, a paralyzing chill that held him captive. He wanted to run, to flee from this ever-growing nightmare before him, but his legs refused to obey. He was frozen in fear. He could only watch as the wolver studied him, its lupine gaze dissecting him before it slipped back into the cloak of fog and shadows. The storm raged on, but to Angus, the world had become eerily silent. The fear was intense, causing his heart to strangely beat like a drum, the only reminder that he was still alive and not entrapped in some hellish nightmare. The wolver was real, and it had marked him. Little did he know this was just the beginning of his terrifying ordeal. The encounter with the wolver branded Angus's life with an indelible mark of dread. The once jovial shepherd boy, known for his infectious laughter and charming tales, transformed into a reclusive, nervous shell. He was rarely seen in the local tavern, and when he was, he would sit alone, his gaze distant, always appearing to be lost in thought. His once bright eyes were now clouded with fear, and his lips sealed with a secret he dared not share. His flock, once thriving and healthy, sadly began to dwindle. One by one, his sheep began to disappear, each loss deepening the creases on Angus's face. He blamed it on the wolver, the haunting figure from his nightmares that had bled into his reality. The villagers, however, could only see a boy deeply sinking into madness, thinking that he himself may be going crazy. Whispers floated around the village, carried by the wind. Mad Angus saw the devil. Yet, a pattern began to emerge, a curious correlation that could not be ignored. When Angus was absent, perhaps visiting a neighboring village or helping his sickly mother, the disappearances ceased. A hushed awe descended upon the villagers. What kind of price had Angus paid for this temporary reprieve? Had he struck a deal with the very beast itself? The line between fear and reverence blurred as the mystery deepened. As winter set in, the village was blanketed in a sheet of virgin snow, a deceptive beauty that masked the chilling fear that gripped its inhabitants. The sheep, their fluffy wool coats thickened against the cold, were now more valuable than ever. Angus, despite his fear, had a duty to fulfill. On a particularly brutal winter's day, Angus ventured into the woods, his breath crystallizing in the frosty air. He sought to hunt for game, to provide for his family and his village. But he was not the only hunter that day. In the silent forest, the wolver was also out hunting, and sadly it had found him. It emerged from the thickets, its fur dusted with snow, its eyes burning with a strange intelligence like he'd never seen on any beast before. It offered a deal, a chilling exchange, human flesh in return for the safety of his sheep. Before Angus could respond, the sound of a distant hunting horn echoed through the trees. The men of the village had found their quarry, a stag, and it lay butchered before them. But Angus was missing. His absence sparked a new wave of fear. Had Angus struck a deal with the devil? Had he sold his soul for a temporary peace? The village was left to ponder as the snow continued to fall, each flake a silent testament to their intensifying fear. As the days lengthened and the grip of winter loosened, the villagers grew restless. Angus was anxiously needed. It was shearing season, and his skills were unmatched. The uncanny silence from the hills, the absence of the young shepherd, was deafening. Then one day, out of nowhere, Angus made his return. He was a spectre of his former self, his face gaunt, his eyes haunted. In his arms he carried a lamb, its body marred with grievous wounds. The villagers gasped at the sight, their fear rekindled. Their greatest fear was real. The Wolver had returned. A collective decision was made. They could not live under the shadow of the beast. A hunt would be organized, a desperate attempt to rid their land of the monstrous predator. As the sun set, the men of the village prepared their weapons. Their hair stood on end, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. But as the moon rose, the horrid screams echoed from the hills. The villagers had never experienced a chill like they were experiencing right now. The Wolver had made its move. The hunters of the Wolver had they themselves become the hunted. The real terror was about to begin. Under the spectral glow of the moon, the village men gathered, their faces etched with grim determination. Each held a weapon, from pitchforks to hunting rifles, their hands steady despite the fear gnawing at their very souls. They had one mission: to hunt down the Wolver, the beast that had cast a shadow of terror on their lives. The night was eerily silent, not a single sound, the usually vocal wildlife muted, as if aware of the deadly game unfolding. The men moved as one, their lanterns casting long, dancing shadows on the frost-kissed ground as they ventured into the depths of the wilderness. The hunters became the hunted. When the first horrid screams echoed through the hills, it was a sound no man could ever forget, a symphony of fear and agony that chilled them to their very core. They found one of their own, a farmer named Ewan. He was a great man. He was known for his pure strength. He was the strongest of the village. This is where the villagers had even more fear. Ewan's body was found torn and lifeless, his eyes wide with terror even in death. The Wolver had struck, the villagers speaking amongst themselves. How can this be? Their panicky fear turned into rage. The men pushed forward. They would not let Ewan's death be in vain. They would not let the beast continue its reign of terror. The hunt was on. The village was a ghost town, its inhabitants locked behind doors, all of them hiding in fear as they awaited news from the hunt. Angus sat alone in his home. While confused, he was deeply contemplating things that he had done. He had refused to join the hunt. He knew the price of facing the Wolver. His mind wandered back to the day he made the pact with the beast, the day he traded human life for the safety of his flock. He remembered the beast's eyes, not filled with mindless rage, but with a chilling intelligence. It was not just a monster, but a creature fighting for survival, in a world where its existence was considered unnatural and evil. Angus was torn between his duty to his village and the pact he made with the Wolver itself. He had become a part of the cycle of fear and bloodshed, a cycle he desperately needed to find a way to break. But the question was how. This was quite the dilemma. The hunt continued, the men driven by a mix of fear and vengeance. They tracked the beast, following a trail of blood and destruction deeper into the wilderness. The Wolver was not a mindless beast. It was very smart and quite devious as well. It was leading them into their possible demise, a maze of shadows and silence, a terrain it knew better than any man. As they ventured further into the vast wilderness, they unfortunately discovered another body. It was not one of their own. It was a stranger, his body mutilated beyond recognition. The realization hit them like a cold wave. The Wolver was not just hunting them, it was hunting any human who dared to venture into its territory. The line between man and beast blurred. The hunters realized they were not just up against a creature of folklore, but a being that was much more human than they had imagined, a being that was fighting for its survival, just like them. The Wolver was very territorial. It's a being not to be crossed or its territory invaded, as that almost always proves to be futile. Back in the village, a sense of foreboding hung in the very air. The moon was a haunting shade of red, a blood moon, which to many, that was a bad omen in itself. The villagers huddled in their homes, praying for the safe return of their men, praying for the end of their ordeal. In his home, Angus sat with the wounded lamb, its labored breathing, a stark reminder of the devilish pact he had made. He knew what he had to do. He had to face the wolver, but differently than previous approaches. He had to face him not as a hunter, but as a man who understood its struggle. As the blood moon rose, painting the village in a sinister hue, Angus ventured into the wilderness, his determination steeling him against the chill of fear. He was ready to face the wrath of the beast, however, whether it would work or not. He had a plan, a truce of sorts, ready to break the cycle of fear and bloodshed. But would the wolver accept his offer of peace, or would it be the ghastly end of Angus MacLeod, or even worse, the destruction of the entire village? The suspense hung in the air, as tangible as the crimson moon itself. As Angus navigated through the thick underbrush, his heart pounded so hard it felt like it was going to bust right out of his chest. The silence of the forest was interrupted by the distant howls of the wolver, a chilling sound that made his blood run cold. A part of him wanted to just forget about it and run. Angus said to himself, "I am not a coward. This isn't just about me. This is about everyone I love." He desperately wanted to fix things, but the fear was getting much overwhelming. Despite the fear gnawing at his nerves, he pressed on, determined to face the beast. There, in a moonlit clearing, stood the wolver, its horrendous figure illuminated by the eerie glow of the blood moon. As Angus approached, the creature turned, its haunting eyes locking onto his eyes. Besides the dark, creepy stare, the wolver didn't lunge, nor did it growl. It simply observed, a silent acknowledgement of his presence. "Enough blood has been spilled," Angus yelled at the top of his lungs, his voice echoing in the silent night. "Can we not get along? We are not your enemies, nor do we desire to be your prey." His words hung in the air, a plea for peace in this world of violence and fear. The wolver remained silent, its gaze never leaving Angus. But something in its demeanor had changed. The beastly aura had faded, replaced by a sense of understanding. It was as if it recognized the sincerity in Angus's words. "I offer a new pact," Angus continued, his eyes never leaving the wolver. "No more human flesh in exchange for the safety of the flock. In return, we promise not to intrude on your land, not to hunt you." The wolver seemed to consider his words, its eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope. After what felt like an eternity, it gave a single solemn nod. The deal was struck. A new pact was formed, one not born of fear, but of mutual respect and understanding. As dawn broke, the men returned from the hunt, their faces pale and their spirits broken. They brought with them tales of horror, of their comrades fallen, and of a beast not wholly animal but part human, which goes against some of the myths about the beast not being human at all. There was in fact a slight cross of beast and human, and even a greater intelligence than once thought. The village listened in somber silence, their joy of the men's return marred by the heavy cost of the hunt. Angus returned too, his face calm, his demeanor changed. He bore news of a new pact, a promise of peace. The villagers listened, their disbelief slowly turning into reluctant acceptance. The reign of terror was over, replaced by an uneasy truce. Word of the new pact spread through the highlands, carried by the wind and whispered among the villagers. The legend of the wolver took on a new form, not just a tale of a beastly creature, but of a being trying to survive, of a shepherd boy who dared to challenge the cycle of fear and violence, and of a pact that changed their lives forever. As our tale draws to a close, we leave the mist-shrouded highlands, carrying with us a story of terror, courage, and understanding. The legend of the Wolver continues, a reminder that sometimes the true beasts are not those that lurk in the shadows, but the fear that resides within us. But remember, the story of the Wolver is never truly over. It continues, waiting to be retold, waiting for another fateful encounter in the remote, mystery-laden Scottish Highlands. I hate to leave you all now, but unfortunately, this is the end of today's story. One of my followers and friend had made a request for this story. I hope you all enjoyed it. If any of you have an idea of a new story to tell and would like me to give it a go and put my own spin on it, just let me know. Please don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and or leave us a comment. As always, thank you for visiting my channel. You are all very much appreciated. Who's awesome? You are all awesome. Later, my friends.
As the flames danced and illuminated their faces, the group of friends knew they were in for a night of frightening tales. The moon hung low in the sky. The first to start was Dave, who cleared his throat and began his story. There was once a man named Charlie who lived in this very forest. He was an old man who had lived alone for as long as anyone could remember. Some said he was a hermit, while others believed he was a witch. He spoke, his voice filled with suspense. The group listened intently as Dave went on. One day, a group of teenagers had dared each other to enter Charlie's cabin. As soon as they stepped inside, they felt a cold shiver run down their spines. They heard something moving in the darkness, but they couldn't see anything. Suddenly, a gnarled hand reached out and grabbed one of them. The group jumped at the unexpected jump scare, but soon erupted in laughter. "Oh, Dave, you're such a joker," Sarah teased, poking fun at his theatrics, but immediately realized it wasn't Dave. He was at the other side of the camp. "I wonder who or what just reached out since it wasn't Dave." "I'm really scared," Sarah said. Just then things were getting slung around the area, but whatever was there appeared to be invisible. As the group huddled closer together, their laughter faded into nervous silence. Sarah's heart raced as she clutched onto her friend's arm tightly. "Did you see that? Something's out there," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. Tom, one of the more adventurous friends, scoffed, trying to downplay the situation. "It's probably just an animal. You know how our minds play tricks on us in the dark." "But it grabbed one of us," Sarah insisted, her eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. "This isn't a joke anymore." Dave, the real storyteller, chimed in from across the camp. "There's something in the woods." Sarah called back. Tom added, "Something invisible." Dave and the others rushed over, bringing a flashlight to investigate. As the beam of light cut through the darkness, the friends saw their belongings strewn around the campsite, seemingly tossed about by an unseen force. What could be doing this? Mark wondered, his voice quivering. Dave furrowed his brow. "I don't know, but maybe it's connected to the story. Let's be cautious, just in case." As they gathered their scattered belongings, the feeling of being watched intensified. It seemed like the forest itself was alive, and they were unwelcome guests in its domain. "Maybe we should leave," suggested Lisa, nervously glancing around. "No way," said Tom, trying to put on a brave front. "We can't let some invisible prankster ruin our night." But just as Tom spoke, a loud, haunting laugh echoed through the woods, sending chills down their spines. The laughter seemed to be coming from all directions, as if the very air itself was mocking them. "Okay, now I'm definitely freaked out," Mark admitted, his tough demeanor crumbling. "Let's stick together," Dave said, trying to sound calm and authoritative. "We need to stay close and find out what's going on." They huddled together, using the flashlight to scan the area, but the laughter continued, growing louder and more sinister. It was as if the forest was playing tricks on them, toying with their fear. As they moved cautiously through the woods, the air grew thick with tension. Suddenly, the laughter stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. The group felt a weight pressing down on them, a sense of impending doom. "I don't like this," whispered Sarah, her voice barely audible. Then, out of nowhere, a voice spoke directly into their minds. "Leave this place, or face the consequences." The friends froze, their eyes wide with terror. It was as if the very forest itself was warning them to leave. Dave spoke bravely. "Who are you? What do you want?" No response came, but the sensation of being watched intensified. The moonlight seemed to wane, and the darkness enveloped them further. "We should go," Lisa said, her voice shaking. But just as they turned to leave, a figure materialized before them. It was a tall, shadowy figure with glowing eyes, hovering just above the ground. The friends gasped, unable to move as fear rooted them to the spot. In a voice that sent shivers down their spines, the figure spoke. "You have trespassed in my domain, and now you must pay the price." The friends' hearts pounded in their chests as they faced the mysterious entity. The suspense was unbearable. As the figure loomed before them, Sarah's mind raced, desperately searching for a way to escape. She mustered the courage to speak, her voice shaking. "We didn't mean to intrude. We were just telling stories around the campfire. Please, we'll leave right now." The figure remained silent for a moment, its glowing eyes seeming to study each of them. Then, in a low, haunting voice, it replied, "Ignorance does not absolve you of your actions. This forest is ancient and sacred, and your presence here disrupts the balance." Mark stepped forward, trying to reason with the mysterious entity. "We didn't know. We'll be more respectful from now. Just let us go, and we promise never to return." The figure seemed to consider their words, and the tension in the air grew even thicker. The group dared not move. "Very well," the figure finally spoke. With those words, the figure dissolved into shadows, leaving the friends in stunned silence. As the darkness lifted, the moonlight returned, and the oppressive atmosphere eased. Yet the sense of awe and dread lingered. Dave glanced at his friends, his expression a mix of relief and disbelief. "I can't believe what just happened," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We should have listened to the warning from the start," Lisa said, her eyes wide with realization. Tom nodded solemnly. "Yeah, I never should have brushed off Sarah's fear." The group made their way back to the campfire, their minds reeling from the encounter. The laughter and excitement that had filled the air earlier were replaced by an uneasy silence. "What was that thing?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Dave admitted, "but it's clear that this forest holds secrets we can't fully comprehend." As they gathered around the campfire, they decided to pack up and leave the forest immediately. The night had taken a chilling turn they hadn't anticipated, and their sense of adventure was replaced by a need for safety. As they walked back along the dark forest path, their imaginations continued to run wild. They couldn't help but wonder about the stories they had heard and the entity they had encountered. The forest had come alive in a way they had never imagined, and the lines between reality and myth seemed to blur. Back at their homes, the group couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that followed them from the forest. The events of the night replayed in their minds, and they found it difficult to sleep. Over the next few days, they tried to rationalize what they had experienced. Some believed it was just a well-orchestrated prank, while others couldn't deny the otherworldly nature of the encounter. But one thing was certain, they would never forget that night in the forest. It had forever changed their perception of the world, leaving them with a newfound respect for the unknown and a lingering sense of unease whenever they thought of the ancient woods. From that day on, the group kept their promise never to return to that part of the forest, their campfire stories now serving as a cautionary tale for others. And so, the legend of the mysterious entity in the woods spread among campers and hikers, adding to the forest's already eerie reputation. But as for what really happened that night, they would never truly know. The mysteries of the forest remained hidden, its secrets guarded by an enigmatic presence that would forever haunt their memories. And so, the Friends' campfire tales continued, leaving a sense of suspense that lingered long after the stories were told.
Welcome to the Mr. Beastlyy channel. Now on to today's story, Crystal and the Twisted Clown. Once upon a time, in a small town called Chakota, there lived a girl named Crystal. Crystal had always carried a terrible fear of clowns. The mere sight of their painted faces and exaggerated smiles sent shivers down her spine. Little did she know that her fear was about to become a horrifying reality. One gloomy evening, Crystal found herself walking home alone after a long day at school. The streets were eerily quiet, and a thick fog hung in the air. As she turned a corner, she caught a glimpse of something in the distance. It was a figure, dressed in a tattered clown costume, with a twisted grin on its face. Crystal's heart skipped a beat as she realized the nightmare she had always feared was standing right before her. The twisted clown's eyes locked onto Crystal, and a sinister chuckle escaped its lips. "Hello, Crystal," it whispered in a low, chilling voice. Crystal's legs turned to jelly, and she stumbled back, trying to escape the clown's gaze. But no matter how fast she ran, the clown was always just a step behind. As Crystal ran through the deserted streets, the twisted clown began to taunt her with horrifying rhymes. "Run, Crystal, run, but you can never hide. I'll find you, my dear, and take you for a ride." Its voice echoed through the empty streets, sending chills down Crystal's spine. Desperate, Crystal sought refuge in an old abandoned house at the end of a desolate street. She hoped that by hiding, she could escape the twisted clown's clutches. But as she entered the house, the air grew heavier and the atmosphere turned suffocating. Crystal's heart pounding heavily as she realized she had walked right into the clown's trap. The house was filled with eerie laughter, echoing from every corner. Crystal's fear intensified as she saw shadows dancing on the walls, casting grotesque shapes of clowns. She could hear whispers in the darkness, taunting her, tormenting her. "You can't escape, Crystal. We are everywhere." Suddenly, the twisted clown emerged from the shadows, its face contorted with malicious delight. Crystal's heart raced as she tried to find a way out, but every door seemed to lead back to the clown. She was trapped, caught in a twisted nightmare. With a wicked smile, the clown lunged towards Crystal, its long, bony fingers reaching out to grab her. Crystal closed her eyes, waiting for the inevitable. But instead of feeling the clown's cold touch, Crystal felt a gust of wind rush past her. Startled, she opened her eyes to find herself standing in the middle of a desolate circus tent. The familiar scent of popcorn and sawdust filled the air, but there was a sense of foreboding that hung heavy in the atmosphere. Crystal's heart racing as she slowly walked through the dimly lit tent. The sound of distant carnival music played on a loop, creating an eerie backdrop to her surroundings. As she ventured deeper into the tent, she noticed rows of empty seats, their faded red velvet cushions tattered and worn. A flickering spotlight suddenly illuminated the center of the tent, revealing a stage with a single spotlight shining down on a creepy, life-sized puppet. Its face was painted with garish colors, its smile unnaturally wide. Crystal's fear intensified as she realized that the puppet resembled the twisted clown that had been haunting her. The puppet's joints creaked as it moved, its wooden limbs contorting in unnatural ways. Crystal watched in horror as the puppet's eyes locked onto her, its painted smile stretching wider. "Welcome, Crystal," it said in a voice that echoed through the tent. "You've stumbled into my twisted circus, where nightmares come alive." Crystal's mind raced as she desperately searched for an escape route, but no matter which way she turned, the exit seemed to shift, always out of reach. The puppet continued its macabre performance, dancing and twirling with an eerie grace as the tense atmosphere grew increasingly suffocating. In a last-ditch effort to break free from the nightmare, Crystal mustered every ounce of courage and approached the puppet. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The puppet's painted eyes glinted with malicious delight as it cackled, its laughter echoing through the tent. "Oh, Crystal, you've always feared clowns, haven't you? But what you don't realize is that your fear is what sustains us. We thrive on the terror we instill in our victims." Crystal's heart sank as the realization dawned upon her. The twisted clown and the nightmarish circus were products of her own fear. The more she ran, the more power she unknowingly gave them. But if fear was their nourishment, then perhaps facing her fear head-on was the key to breaking free. Summoning her inner strength, Crystal locked eyes with the puppet and said, "I refuse to be a victim of my own fear any longer. I will not let you control me." As she spoke those words, the tent began to fade away, revealing the reality of her surroundings. Crystal found herself standing in the middle of Chakota, the streets no longer deserted, but filled with people going about their daily lives. The twisted clown and the nightmarish circus were gone, dissipated like a bad dream. Crystal took a deep breath, feeling a newfound sense of freedom and empowerment. She had conquered her fear and emerged stronger on the other side. And as she walked away from the remnants of her nightmare, Crystal vowed to never let fear hold her captive again. She would face life's challenges head-on, knowing that she had the strength to overcome any darkness that may come her way. Little did Crystal know, her story would become a chilling tale whispered among the residents of Chakota for generations to come, a cautionary tale of the power of fear and the triumph of the human spirit. And with each retelling, the legend of Crystal and the Twisted Clown would take on a life of its own, becoming a haunting creepypasta that would send shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you liked this story, or maybe you have an idea for another story, just tell us in the comments below. There will be more stories to come shortly. We are currently working on possibly throwing in some series in the near future. As always, thank you for visiting my channel. Each and every one of you are very much appreciated.
The Story of John, the Delivery Driver, Chapter 1. The delivery driver known as John seemed like any ordinary man, but behind his friendly smile and courteous demeanor was a monster. He was a serial killer who had been on the loose for years, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. The residents of the small town of Pandora were used to seeing John deliver packages to their doors, but no one suspected a thing. That is, until one day when a local woman disappeared without a trace. The police investigation led them straight to John, and they finally put an end to his killing spree. However, the twist in this story is that John didn't die in police custody as was reported. He had faked his own death and gone into hiding. Now, years later, he has resurfaced and has resumed his killing spree. The residents of Pandora are once again living in fear, but this time they are more vigilant and determined to catch the killer. One day, a young woman named Wendy received a package from John. She thought nothing of it and was about to open it when she noticed something strange. The package felt heavy, and when she shook it, she heard a faint muffled sound coming from inside. Wendy immediately called the police, and they rushed to her home. When the police arrived, they found that the package contained the body of the latest victim of John the serial killer. The investigation led them straight to John, but he was nowhere to be found. He had once again gone into hiding, leaving the police with more questions than answers. The story ends with the discovery of John's hideout and the discovery that he has continued his killing spree, but with a twist. Instead of just killing random people, he has been targeting the descendants of those who helped put him behind bars. He wants to get revenge and make sure that no one can ever stop him again. The story is left open-ended, leaving room for continuation, as the police and the residents of Pandora race against time to catch John before he strikes again. John. Chapter 2. Wendy, who had received the package from John, was now more determined than ever to catch him. She had a personal connection to the case, as her own grandmother was one of the people who helped put John behind bars. Wendy was afraid that she was next on John's list, and she wasn't going to sit around and wait for him to come for her. She teamed up with the police to track down John and bring him to justice. They worked tirelessly, following every lead and using all the resources at their disposal. One day, they finally got a breakthrough. They discovered a hidden room in John's hideout that contained all of his victims' belongings. The police also found evidence that linked John to several other crimes, including several murders that were previously unsolved. With this new information, the police and Wendy were able to track John to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. They surrounded the building and prepared to make their move. Wendy was at the forefront of the operation, her determination fueled by her desire to protect her family and bring John to justice. As they entered the warehouse, they found John waiting for them, a sinister smile on his face. He was holding a knife and surrounded by the remains of his latest victims. In a dramatic showdown, Wendy and the police engaged in a fierce battle with John, but in the end, they were able to overpower him and apprehend him. John was finally brought to trial, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The residents of Pandora were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that the monster who had terrorized their town for so many years was finally behind bars. However, as the years went by, rumors began to circulate that John had a secret accomplice, someone who was helping him continue his killing spree even from behind bars. The residents of Pandora were once again living in fear, and the story was left open-ended, leaving room for a continuation as the search for John's accomplice continues. John, Chapter 3. With the help of his accomplice, John managed to escape from prison, leaving the authorities in a frantic search for him. He had undergone a radical transformation, using a plastic surgeon to change his appearance and make it harder for the authorities to find him. But after the procedure, John had killed the surgeon, making sure there were no witnesses to his new look. Now a wanted man, John went underground and continued his killing spree, but with a new identity and a new face. The authorities were stumped, as all their previous leads and methods of tracking John were now useless. It was like he had vanished into thin air. Years passed, and the residents of Pandora thought they were finally safe. They had buried their fears and went on with their lives, but little did they know John was still out there, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike. One day, Wendy, who had been instrumental in capturing John before, received a package in the mail. The return address was from John, and inside she found a taunting note telling her that he was back and that he was coming for her. Wendy was terrified, but she refused to give up. She teamed up with the police once again and set out to track down John. They scoured the countryside, following every lead, and after months of tireless searching, they finally found him. John was holed up in an old mansion on the outskirts of town, surrounded by the remains of his latest victims. The police and Wendy prepared for a final showdown, determined to put an end to John's killing spree once and for all. As they entered the mansion, they found John waiting for them, his eyes blazing with a sinister light. In a final battle, Wendy and the police engaged John, and after a long and grueling fight, they finally brought him to justice. This time, there was no escape for John. He was finally brought to trial and sentenced to death. The residents of Pandora were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that the monster who had terrorized their town for so many years was finally gone for good. However, even in death, John continued to haunt them. The rumors of his accomplice still lingered, and many wondered if there was someone still out there carrying on John's legacy of terror. The story was left open-ended, leaving room for a continuation as the search for John's accomplice continues. John, Chapter 4. Years after John's death, strange things began to happen in Pandora. People started disappearing, and rumors of a monster on the loose once again spread throughout the town. The residents were once again living in fear, and the authorities were at a loss as to what to do. It wasn't until they received a tip from a local priest that they finally discovered the truth. The priest, a man of the cloth, had been using his powers for evil. and with the help of 2 powerful demons, he had resurrected John from the dead. John was now almost invincible, his powers increased tenfold, and he was on a mission to rain terror on Pandora once again. The authorities and Wendy, who had never given up her quest for justice, prepared for another showdown with John. They were joined by a group of hunters, experts in tracking and defeating supernatural creatures. Together, they set out to stop John and put an end to his reign of terror once and for all. As they entered the old mansion where John was hiding, they were met with a scene of utter carnage. Bodies were strewn everywhere, and the stench of death filled the air. John was there, waiting for them, a smug smile on his face. In a final battle, Wendy and the authorities, along with the hunters, engaged John in a fierce fight. But this time, he was almost invincible, his powers fueled by the demons who had resurrected him. It seemed as if all was lost, and Pandora was doomed to suffer under John's reign of terror forever. Just when all hope seemed lost, Wendy remembered something her grandmother had told her. She was a powerful witch, and she had left behind a powerful spell that could defeat even the most powerful of demons. Wendy recited the spell, and to everyone's surprise, it worked. John was finally defeated, and Pandora was once again safe from the monster who had terrorized it for so many years. However, the story was left open-ended, as the evil priest who had resurrected John was still at large. The authorities and Wendy continued their quest for justice, determined to stop the priest and the demons who had resurrected John before they could wreak havoc on the world once again. The hunt was on, and the story was far from over. Stay tuned tomorrow evening for Chapter 5 of John.